Iceman and Firestar.
Early 80s Saturday morning superhero cartoons gave a feeling that nothing else can replicate. Waking up late knowing there's no school and settling on the couch for a show that to this day brings back nostalgia. What more can there be to life? These shows had bright colors and hand-drawn images, a reflection of the time where the human love and effort was visible in the media you consumed, big villains, funny one-liners, and a moral to remember for life. And this nostalgia was shattered on a random Wednesday when Marvel dropped a multiverse storyline that basically said, hey, remember your favorite childhood superhero team? We decided to wreck their lives and yours too, in just one page. They say misery loves company, so I'm gonna rope you into the emotional whiplash I and several other Spider-Man fans were handed. It has to do with the Kick-Ass trio and Morlun the Inheritor. Let me start right at the beginning. The birth of Marvel's most wholesome superhero team-up.
Spider-Man and his amazing friend, Iceman and Firestar.
In 1981, Marvel and NBC teamed up for two different Spider-Man shows. One was the straightforward solo series following our friendly neighborhood web crawler, and the other had Spidey teaming up with two superheroes. NBC was trying to copy Super Friends, a show based on the Justice League of America comic books that had considerable success on ABC. The show ran for 3 seasons with 24 total episodes from 1981 to 1983. The show worked because it used a simple but effective formula. Spider-Man was just better when he was surrounded by friends. Peter Parker's new teammates embodied the fire and ice combination quite literally. Bobby Drake, aka Iceman, was a welcome addition as comic fans already knew him as an established X-Man. The wildcard entry was the brand new Firestar. She was created specifically for the show, and her origin story proves the saying, necessity is the mother of invention. At first, the plan was to use Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, whose cocky impulsiveness would have paired well with the responsible and respectful Peter. But there were some legal hiccups and a massive licensing headache, so the creative team came up with Angelica Jones, who had powers to control heat of any kind and used the superhero name Firestar. The tone of the series was, as expected, super light. It had action, sure, but it wasn't bloody or gory. It was kid-friendly, and the villains were often goofy. Spider-Man and his amazing friends often dealt with danger that seemed real, but not so real that you had nightmares about it. The atmosphere was always fun as the characters bantered, argued, reconciled, and then took down a dangerous villain together. They even had a pet, a Lhasa Apso called Miss Lion that Firestar adopted. The plot lines were well written, and why wouldn't they be, as Stan Lee was directly involved with many creative decisions on the show. He even narrated a few episodes. The show also had a lot of familiar Marvel characters dropping in, and I am not talking about the variety of villains we got to see like Red Skull, Magneto, Sandman, and Kraven the Hunter, but the guest appearances by other famous superheroes too. Many of the X-Men, Doctor Strange, Captain America, and Daredevil are only a few of the examples. For many people, watching this show was the first introduction to the larger Marvel Universe. It was no surprise that the show lived well past its original run and was re-aired as part of the syndicated series Marvel Action Universe. And then years later, a comic shows up and within moments does something so cold-blooded to these characters that the nostalgia is forever tainted. The horror of the Spider-Verse. Now, fast forward to modern Marvel Comics, where we are way past the point of Marvel Universe and have been dealing with the multiverse. The multiverse also brought us the Spider-Verse, which introduced the Inheritors, a family of totem hunters that specifically target spider totems, that is, Spider-Men and women, as they were prophesied to rid the world of them. They can hop universes using the spider deity Master Weaver. The most infamous of the Inheritors is Morlun. Morlun is not a cackling villain who is just a bit too ambitious and wants to rule the world. No, for him, hunting spider totems is a matter of survival as he feeds on them. Unlucky for the spider people, his appetite knows no bounds. As the Inheritors travel around committing a multiversal genocide, we get a look inside a universe that will definitely break some hearts. In the 7th issue of The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3, we get a short story segment where Billy Braddock, who can also be called Captain Britton Korsman Spider-Man UK, browses the multiverse in the Otherworld, the omniversal hub of all cross-time. He was hoping to find an answer to his tingling Spidey sense, and boy did he find one. He sees Morlun holding Spider-Man of a different universe, a universe Morlun describes as kinder and gentler, in a chokehold. Morlun cruelly states how Spider-Man's world doesn't even have the vocabulary to describe the atrocities Morlun just unleashed on his friends, or to describe what's going to happen to him. And then, declaring that his naivety won't save him, he sucks the life force out of Spider-Man. Morlun enjoys the taste of his life force, describing it as a child's confection, and throws Spidey's body down. We see a Lhasa Apso barking helplessly nearby. When Morlun leaves, we see the full devastation left behind. Firestar draped across the rubble covered in blood, and Iceman lying lifeless. That is when we realize that Spider-Man and his amazing friends have met an end that none of us watching the Saturday show had ever dreamed of. I don't know what's more brutal, Morlun just ending Spider-Friends without a second thought, or the writers who did not even care enough to give the fans an opportunity to see their favorite heroes' last stand. If their final fight was shown, it would have given them dignity. It would have given them a last line, their final hero moment, their grit. But here, they are just prey. They are hunted down, a means to an end. This single page acts as a grim reminder to how nothing is safe in the Spider-Verse. Not even the gentle, kind reality you associated with in your childhood. Especially not the gentle, kind reality. Wait, which Earth has the Spider-Friends again? A question everyone has thanks to the multiverse is what Earth holds our favorite superhero? The Amazing Spider-Man comic book I just told you about mentions the location to be Earth 1983. But in other Marvel reference material and fan documentations, the reality which has Spider-Man and his amazing friends is Earth 8107. Many Marvel handbooks also mention the latter, so is there a chance that Spider-Friends are alive? If you ask me, I say maybe. Maybe Earth 1983 is the reality in which the Spider-Friends died, and Earth 8107 is the one where they live. You can tell me your opinion in the comments below, but I don't guarantee that I'll read them, as the way this year has gone, I want Spider-Man, Firestar, and Iceman to be alive. In fact, I need them to be alive. How does the Spider-Verse end, and what happens to Morlun? After this horrifying moment, you might be wondering if Morlun is served his just desserts for adding our nostalgia into his body count, and in a word, the answer is yes. Let me break it down. In Spider-Verse, Spider UK rallies Spider people and animals. Spider-Ham might be disappointed we left him out, and forms the Spider Army. All these different people, different personalities, and different costumes, but the same power, get together in the desperate war to save Spider Totem from this vampiric family. The inheritors want to fulfill their prophecy so badly that they decide to conduct a ritual that would stop more Spider Totems from being created. That would limit the number of people they had to kill. For the ritual, they needed the blood of Benji Parker, who was called the Scion and was the son of Mary Jane and Peter Parker on Earth 982. When the stakes include the spider concept itself getting exterminated, you bet that the Spider Army's gonna deliver. They stopped it, gained the upper hand in the chaos, and rescued Benji, who is but a wee lad trapped in all this. To stop the inheritors from crossing universes again, the superior Spider-Man killed the Master Weaver, but he had not estimated the damage that would do to the multiverse. Thankfully, the Spider Army stabilizes that too. Now, what happened to Morlun? He and his family of life force vampires were exiled into Earth 3145, a reality where Dr. Octopus brought about a devastating nuclear war and raised the planet into an uninhabitable wasteland. This was the perfect prison for the inheritors, as they needed to live in a bunker to survive because of the poisonous radiation all around. It's an exile and imprisonment rolled into one. So, Morlun is trapped there forever? Not really. Morlun is considered one of the strongest Spider-Man villains for a reason. Using Superior Octopus's cloning machine, the inheritors find a way to transfer their consciousness to Earth 616. I won't get into all of the details, but a lot of spider deaths later, the Web Warriors have Morlun and his family turned into baby. They decided that if the inheritors grew up without any childhood trauma or abusive parents, maybe they won't dedicate their lives to killing Spider Totem. There's a whole philosophical debate on nature versus nurture there, but I guess we will find out in 20 to 30 years once Morlun grows up. Spider friends all around. As I said before, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends was a popular show, so there were many tie-ins, continuations, and nods to expect from it. One of the most direct tie-ins was the one-shot comic book released in the same year with the same title as the show. It was an adaptation of the first episode, The Triumph of the Green Goblin, with some changes so that it fit in with the Marvel Universe seamlessly. It's also iconic as it was the first comic book appearance of Firestar. However, the version of Firestar that exists in Marvel continuity first appeared in 1985, in the 183rd issue of Uncanny X-Men. She was a part of Emma Frost's Hellions. The fact that she did not remain a character who was forgotten after Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends shows how well written the character was. She even got an origin story in a 4-issue limited series comic book called Firestar, published in 1986. Our girl went on to be a founding member of the New Warriors and then joined the Avengers too. They did change her power though. In the cartoon, her powers are fire-based, and Marvel had enough of those. So they gave her the power to control microwave energy. For the 25th anniversary of the show, Spider-Man Family Amazing Friends #1 was released in 2006, and the trio have teamed up sporadically over time. The most notable of them being in the 7th issue of Amazing X-Men in 2014 and the 3rd issue of Iceman in 2018. Closing. The way I used to think about Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends was with nostalgic warmth, a sense of joy and security, but now, all I can think about is the deserted corpses of Spider-Man, Firestar, and Iceman, and Morlun's cold words about my childhood hero being too gentle and kind to defend himself. Thanks, comics! I hope you liked this trauma dump of a video, and if you did, smash that thumbs up, won't you? We will soon return with more awesome stuff, and until then, comment, share, subscribe, and believe in the multiverse. Goodbye!